Welcome to Policy and Profit, the podcast for ambitious insurance agents and agency owners who want to build predictable, profitable businesses without chasing bad leads or begging for referrals. And let me just be brutally honest for a second. Most agency owners aren't building a team, they're babysitting one. They spend their days chasing flaky prospects, repeating the same recruiting pitch 5 times a week like a parrot, only to have no-shows, ghosters, and broke dreamers drain their time and siphon their energy. And worst of all, their personal production is what suffers. And they start resenting a team they spent all these years and effort trying to really build. And if that's you, you're not lazy. It's just that you're trying to scale using effort instead of system. So that's why I built the Autopilot Recruiter, a done-for-you system that helps you recruit, attract qualified agents, pre-sell them with your story, and get them onboarded, all without doing another live Zoom, a sales pitch, or a three-way call ever again. It's the same system top recruiters are using to grow massive downlines without sacrificing their commissions, their time, or their sanity. So if you're ready to build a team that actually grows itself, go to writemorepolicies.com/playbook and get the free playbook today. Today's guest is none other than David Price. After 20 years of battling addiction, starting from rock bottom, he rebuilt his life and went on to create a multi-million-dollar business in under a year. So, David, welcome to the show. Tell me something you believe is the key to succeeding in insurance sales that most agents completely overlook.
And not quitting. I mean,
Go,
it's
go
as
more
simple as
into
that.
that.
It's so many times people, it's crazy, right? Because I know you've been doing this for a minute too, but people will get their insurance license, they'll be so excited, and then they can't commit to that first week, or they just commit to the parts they want to commit to and not the things they actually have to do. It's like they have money issues and they use the same mind that kept them with those money issues to try to build their business. So ultimately, how can you help more agents be successful is unlearn or unthink what you think you need to do, and start following what people are doing that are successful, and don't quit. Most of them just quit
Yeah,
too soon.
Albert Einstein had a quote I'm sure you'll resonate with. He says, "The same thinking that caused a problem will not be the same thinking that solves that same problem." And so it's a funny thing. You guys are gonna have to listen to what David says on here today. It'll be really good because you're gonna have to develop the ability to stop stopping, which is essentially what uh, David is saying. And it's such a profound statement because a lot of us, man, because this industry, it gets dark, man, doesn't it? People are telling you go pound sand and all this mean stuff. You don't know who's actually there to help you. And some people just have selfish agendas where they want you on their leads. And they're selling that same lead to 50 other agents, which I know, Dave, you took in-house. You took your own stuff in-house, which kudos to you because unfortunately, marketing is like unheard of in this industry. People say they're marketing, but telling people that they're a piece of shit because they don't buy a policy and GoFundMe's, fear mongering is not marketing, at least not efficient marketing. So I really want to get into why do you think most of them are stopping too early on? They never build themselves a long enough runway for their plane to take off because, like you said, they it's like the Christians who pick and choose which parts of the Bible they're going to listen to for the day. So talk to us more about that. Why do you think they keep stopping?
Yeah, I think I mean, a lot has to do with confidence. I believe, right? If people, if I told you I'm going to pay you $20,000 a month, but you have to do A, B, C, and D, and you have to do it every single day, and you have to start at 9 o'clock and finish till you get it done. Like not when not 5 o'clock, but when you get it done. But I guarantee you, I'll pay you 5,000 a week or 20 grand a month. And you believed me that I was going to pay you because I was a real company. I feel like most people would do the things that they're supposed to do. And the minute you leave things up to chance, right? Where it's like, well, if I do this, am I really going to get paid? Well, if I do this, will it really work? People, they start losing focus and they start looking the other thing, right? Then, social media is like this bright, shiny thing. And it's like, oh,
I,
wait a second, this guy over here is selling insurance with ChatGPT now, and he made like $5,000 a day, and he says I could work on his team, and he's looking for people, right? Because I know if I could make 5 grand a day with my ChatGPT bot, then I would obviously need more people, right? Or actually, I think I'd probably just like live by myself and work by myself and just make that easy money. If the secret's so good, it's like why share it, right? But ultimately, I think that if you could figure out how to get them to believe, and so why aren't they believing? So a lot of times it's because the leadership, the person they joined isn't actually doing what they said they're going to do, or maybe they said some really aggressive, great, amazing things to bring them on board, and then once they came on board, they just realized, wait a second, this isn't actually what he said, this isn't actually what it looks like. That's why I believe in being like brutally honest with people. I would say, like, if I have to lie to get you to like come on my team,
Yeah.
it's like lying to a woman to get married, and then you got to live with an angry wife, right? And I don't want to live with an angry wife, and I don't want to lie to the person on the team. So I think that's important. And then you mentioned something else super important, which is leads, right? And a lot of people, work bad leads or resold leads or old leads or leads that just weren't, what you expected them to be for leads. So that's why we did build an in-house lead system, because I want to make sure when my agent gets their first set of leads, they make something. They have to make something out of it, right? Make some kind of money. As they get better, they'll be more profitable as they learn referrals and all that other stuff that's super important. So those are some reasons that I think insurance agents just, quit before they have success.
It's sad. There's not too many other industries outside of like what I do. If you want to build your own products and go interview people for 100 hours of your life, that's a lot of serious conversations, and they have to trust you enough to tell you what their real concerns are. I don't know many other places you can go outside of insurance where you can, like the sales cycle is so quick, right? You can write today, get paid tomorrow. Well, you're not going to get that at Walmart. So you're not going to be able to buy cool stuff either. Like David, look at his Captain America shield back there. What else do you? What's some of the stuff on your side? Is that like a tiki totem, like the head of that, or what is that?
I got that in another country. Now I'm trying to think where I got that. I think I got that in Dominican Republic. I got the Iron Man helmet up there. I got my award for when I did 15 million in 2023. They gave me T on a belt, so that was kind of cool. Got Iron Man's heart. Then I got an AP in the box next to that. And some things that have more sentimental meaning to
Yeah.
me than it would somebody else. Um, just some things, man. Just some stuff for the back of the podcast, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's really cool. I don't because the achievements on this industry, you'll see people who've never taken a vacation. They'll come in here, they'll crush it, and they'll get like a Costa Rica trip or a can. I remember winning my first carrier trip, and I was like, "Holy sh!" Like you can get free vacations and insurance. That was back in 2020, so it's the sky really is the limit here. It's all commission, so it's eat what you kill for the most part. Now, as far as the leads thing is concerned, what made you want to take things in-house? Because that's something that most agency owners, unfortunately, will never do because they get bought in of this talking point from the very top. They get spread all the way a parrot told a parrot told a parrot to buy more leads, buy more leads, buy more leads, buy more leads. And I get it. You want to trust your upline, but it's uh, and funnily enough, David, before you've ever met, just because of what people have said and because I know Lauren, you and David Dufort are the only agencies I've ever really advocated for, even never talking to you, just because you were smart enough to do that. So what made you want to take things in-house?
Yeah, first off, I appreciate you advocating for me, so appreciate that. So I mean, I'm an agent, right? I was an agent. I sold insurance. I know how important leads are, and to me, it's the most important part. As a matter of fact, when I was looking, I wasn't even looking to get my insurance license. I was looking for a business opportunity, and I had a couple things happened to me in my life. So one, I started a few different businesses that I didn't have a lot of success, and the reason why is I didn't have a good marketing plan. I didn't have leads. I didn't realize how important that part was. I thought like, back then you just put your information in the yellow pages, you put an ad, and your phone blows up, and you serve all these clients, and
Yep.
you're a business owner, you get rich. And I think I got like one call a year from my yellow page ad. So I was definitely not what I
Wow.
expected. So I went through some things like that. But then I started working for this guy repoing cars, and it was commission only. I made 40% of what I made this guy, and he would send me so many cars to find. I mean, I would have stacks and stacks of cars to find. So it was like unlimited work. So I could wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, go snatch some people's cars, work till dark, and do it again the next day. And at that time, that's the most money I've ever made. It was really the first time I was like fully commissioned where I had like leads involved in it, right? That was leads. So I thought that was super cool. Well, then I was in Louisiana, over 200,000 houses got flooded. And now when I'm pulling these houses, they're all gutted. So I'm like, wow, I'm never going to find these cars. Most of the cars are flooded now. And I'm like, wow, my income is about to stop. Like you can't find cars, your commission base is about to stop. I was like, but I know something that needs to be done. These houses need to be rebuilt, right? So to me, these neighborhoods of all gutted and all this stuff in the front yard and stuff, I'm like, these are people that have a need. They're leads. So real simple, park the tow truck, start going door to door. Hey, you want a free estimate? You want a free estimate? You want a free estimate? And I invoiced $800,000 my first 8 months in a construction company, knowing very little about construction, just knew about, doing estimates, working hard. So I I wanted to get out of disaster work because with disaster work, it's, there's a disaster, you make a bunch of money, by the time you figure it out, it's over. So there's no way to like continue to scale because
Unless
every
you can create disasters. If you got a volcano in the backyard, you can just plug in. uh,
absolutely. So there's no reason to like scale, and every disaster is different. Sometimes it's wind, sometimes it's a flood. So I was like, I need to find a business opportunity that I can scale and that will give me true freedom. So insurance wasn't even on the radar, and somebody pointed me towards insurance. So I was like, all right, well, I know insurance is a good industry to be in, but how do you find your people? To me, the leads were the most important thing. They said we have an in-house lead system. This is what we do. This is how we do it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I was like, and you have plenty of leads for me. I'm going to build a massive sales team. You have plenty of leads for them too. And they said, yes. I was like, I'm in. So when I decided to start going on my own and build my own IMO, the foundation had to be a good lead system. So that was the most important thing. Because why would an agent work with me versus another person if the leads are what's going to make the difference? And not only that, I want people to be successful that work with me. So how do I help them be successful? Help them with good quality leads.
Unfortunately, every this is why a lot of the problems with direct response marketing companies is they all end up turning into lead gen. All the customers you haven't sold, you just sold their information to another aggregator or something like that. And unfortunately, what agents don't realize is a lot of these bigger IMOs that are doing tens of millions, like guys realize a lot of those tens of millions come from reselling the same lead to multiple agents. I know a lead that's been sold over 300 times just because loose lips sink ships and people at events like to brag. And if you want to know where all the real conversations are happening, just wait until people get drunk. The secrets just start coming out at these events, and it's funny. So, and this kind of ties in with what you're really passionate about, helping people make money. So let's talk about how you want to help others in your team, in the industry, in the world become the best version of themselves by building like real income, lasting systems, unshakable confidence. What does that look like to you?
Yeah, of course. So, what I see a lot in this industry is somebody will help somebody be a great producer, and a great producer makes a manager a good amount of money typically, right? I mean, you're not going to get rich off one person, but it's a good amount of income. And typically what happens is when you start teaching that person how to build a business now, the production is going to start slowing down because now the focus is on things that aren't going to create income for a while or create production for a while. And most people, most leaders in this business don't want to stop that flow. So they're just going to be like, hey, you just got to keep working. You just got to keep working. You got to work more leads. Hey, what's your goal this month, right? And they just want to keep focusing on keeping that person a producer, keeping their blinders on, keeping them, bringing that production in. Where for me, I want to teach them, but once we get them to a certain point to where I know they can produce, now they need to start teaching that, and that's where I come in, and I want to start teaching you how to build a business, about talent acquisition, how to bring onboard an agent, how to train an agent, what to focus on, what not to focus on. Because ultimately, most people, when they get their insurance license, right, it's like, hey, I got it for freedom. Well, if you have to write $30,000, $40,000 every single month to keep your lifestyle the same, I don't know if I would call that freedom. Like, yeah, you don't have to ask the boss off, but it's not freedom. So my thing is, I want to get you to where you're making $20,000 a month in overrides. So that's $20,000 on autopilot. And that was my first goal. And my first goal, I started as an agent. I'm just selling, working 14 hours a day, trying to learn the business, really sucking, failing fast, all those things. But eventually I was like, all right, let me get to that goal to where I'm making 20 grand a month passively in overrides. And I remember getting there, and I just remember it was like weights just like fell off my shoulders. And I was just like, oh, thank goodness. Because I didn't know if it was going to come. Right. So I know that feeling. And that's like, to me, that's freedom. Like 5 grand a month in your bank account. that you could count on every single, or 5 grand a week that you count on every single week in your bank account, right? Like that is freedom. So it's like that is what I want to help other people get, right? Yeah, you could produce all day. We could help you be a better. We do some sales training. We do all this stuff, but let me help you get some real freedom. And then once you have the freedom, that's when you could start working on everything, right? I was in the best shape of my life when I got my insurance license. A year later, I'm in the worst shape of my life, right? Because I had to focus on learning the business. But now that I have the freedom, now I could, go to the best doctors, get blood work quarterly, eat the best foods, and just really take care of myself. So hopefully not just have the wealth and the freedom, but be able to enjoy it longer than the average person.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of bad actors out there on TikTok promise you the moon and the stars and then hand you the keys to like a Honda Civic after they promised you a damn Ferrari, and it wasn't even their car that they were standing in front of the whole time. And a lot of you are going to come in here and they have a lot. How many agents do you see that are still going out to bars, hanging out with dumbasses who keep them held back and really affecting their work? Like, what would you say to those people about some of the rather brutal but realistic truths about what it takes to be successful in this endeavor? Because there are sacrifices and consequences of all your actions in here. So, what would you say about that?
Yeah, I think it's all about the habits. For me, I suffer from drug addiction for about 20 years. Got clean in 2013, right? I was still
Congratulations.
smoking. Thank you, I appreciate it. Right, I was still smoking, but I was off drugs. I was smoking. I was overweight. I was super unhealthy. I was unemployed. I was beyond broke. I was negative net worth. Sleeping on people's couches still, right? My life didn't just magically get better because I finally figured out how to stop using drugs. But for me, it was like, all right, how do I fix the next thing? I was like, well, I definitely don't like the way I look. So I could do one thing. I go on Instagram and sign up for someone's course or do this next diet fad. Or let me start with something simple. Let me just stop drinking soda. Like one small little thing. And on top of stop drinking soda, I'm gonna walk 20 minutes a day, right? Two small, really simple habits that I know I can do no matter how tired I am, no matter what's going on. And then from there, work on that and build on that and build on that and build on that. But yeah, you're right. I do see a lot of people and they have these huge goals. I want to be a millionaire and this and that. But yeah, they're spending a lot of their time and energy partying, drinking, going to bars, hanging out with people that, don't align with what their vision is. And all that stuff like matters, and I was that person where like, all I was worried about all week was like, what club was I going to on the weekend and who I was hanging out with. And it's like you're using all that mental energy that could be used to like, wow, let me figure out how to make 20 grand a month passively. What do I need to do that? What's the next step? What am I missing? Why is it not happening? Where can I learn? Where can I get more information from? Who do I hire as a coach? Maybe I need a marketer, whatever it is, as opposed to like, man, what club are we going to? Whose car are we taking? Who's gonna be the designated driver, right? And
Yeah.
what you focus and put your energy on will definitely grow. But the problem is people won't do it consistently. Oh, I didn't go to the bar this weekend. This weekend I worked on my goals, right? But then next weekend they're at the bar. So you gotta like really be consistent on it, or just align with what you want. If you're happy with what you're doing and like everything's amazing, then do it. But I always tell my agents, like, listen, you do whatever you want, but you can't do whatever you want and complain to me you're broke. You could do one or the other. You could
That's
either,
fair.
yeah. If you're gonna complain you're broke, then you have to be following the system. So I yet to find someone who follows our system that complains they're broke.
Yeah, you mentioned it reminds me of Brian Tracy. Have you watched his Phoenix seminar? It's 10 hours long, but it's one of the best info marketing seminars out there. He talks about the law of polarity essentially states there's a positive for every negative, negative for every positive. Your worst day is your best day is your worst day, blah, blah, blah. But it's essentially everything counts. And so every minute you spend with people who don't support where you say you want to go, where you claim you want to go, every hour you spend doing shit that pulls you away from your goals is like an hour you're spending not being rich, an hour you spend. I don't know about you, David, but I got tired of living life where I had to order food off the right-hand side of the menu, where the prices are, rather than the left-hand side of the menu, where all the pretty pictures are. And I got tired of going to restaurants like Denny's where they had discounts rather than going to restaurants where they had the chef's special and simply being in different environments. Man, I'm telling you, it works. It's like God picks you up and says, "You're my favorite" or something. And I'm telling, it's impossible to fail when you feel like that. So, what would you say are the top three habits? No, actually, instead of that, what are the top three things you see most agents do that they need to quit doing? And then success typically just happens as a byproduct, as a result of them giving up dumb things.
Yeah, I think about myself when you ask that question. I think about like when I wasn't succeeding, and I think about when I felt like I was going broke and things weren't working. And one thing that I know that I was doing, and I believe a lot of agents do, if not all of them, is when they're not having success, they look for somebody else that's not having success so they could co-sign
Yeah.
their BS. Right. So it's like, hey, Mason, man, these leads suck, don't they? They just want someone to agree with them instead of going to the top producer and be like, hey, I don't know what's going on. I can't close these leads. It looks like you're closing them, so what am I missing? Right? Instead of like going up and trying to figure out like what they're missing, they want to find somebody to co-sign their BS. So that was something, and I realized I was doing that. And then I realized ultimately my lack of success, you know, I had to do it lack of skill and stuff like that. I was putting a lot of effort, a lot of time, but I was just going through the motions, right? So you got to make sure that when you're doing stuff, you're really trying to get some stuff done, right? You got to be really intentional. So don't just like, hey, I made $200 today, and then but like, okay, good, but you got eight people on the phone, and how'd that go? Well, they told me they'll call me back later. I'm like, and like, you just, that was it, that was the end. Like, hey, how you doing? My name is David. Oh, I'll call you later. Oh yeah, no problem, call me anytime. I'm available 24/7 for you. Right.
Tour
So like, be
guides.
be intentional. Don't just go through the motions, be intentional. So that's what I was doing. I was putting a lot of hours. I was being negative. My mindset was like trying to find reasons that I wasn't going to succeed. I was just going through the motions. And then the other thing is like not being a student, right? So, what happened? Why didn't you close them? Oh, they told me they had to think about it. All right, cool. What about the other one? Well, they had to think about it too. Cool. What about the other one? Well, they also had to think about it. Okay, perfect. So far you got a bunch of objections they had to think about.
Yeah.
Good. So what did you do to make sure next time you get that objection, you're ready for it? Oh, well, I didn't do anything. Do you think it might happen again? Yeah, there's a good possibility it's going to happen again. Okay. Do you open up the rebuttal worksheet and see what you're supposed to say when they say, I want to think about it, and then practice it over and over again, record yourself listening to it, practice it again until you're so smooth that you're just sitting there and you're like, I hope they say I need to think about it because I know exactly what I'm going to say this time. Right. So they're not students, they're not training to be successful.
It's so funny. I remember, hell, I went into a lot of every dollar I made went back into coaching courses, masterminds, and it was like people are, you mean, what do you mean you spent 50 grand on a mastermind? I spent 50 grand on a mastermind. And it's just, you almost begin to anticipate stuff like that, like, oh, say that you need to talk to your wife about it. I dare you, David. I dare you, man. And you get so excited, you become a freak of nature and you start understanding people. And it's so beautiful because I think that's where all the money is really made. And as a guy named Jason Fladlin says, when it gets easy is when you go hard. And that's where all the profit is made. So this has been really valuable, David, for the agents and agency owners listening who want to learn more about what you do. Tell us who's a good fit to work with you, and more importantly, how can they get in touch?
Yeah, absolutely. So I look for three things really: positive attitude, coachable, and a good work ethic, right? If you can give me those three things consistently long enough, I typically can help you have a lot of success in your business. Um, and what was the other thing? How to find me?
Yeah, where can they go to get in touch
Yeah.
if they have a positive attitude, they're coachable, and they're willing to be consistent for long enough?
Yeah, you could go to my website, tbglife.com, or you can find me on social, David Price Official, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. So you can find me there.
Perfect. So we're going to wrap up here, David. You guys go comment down below. Tell David Price thank you for sharing his insights on some of the things top producers are going to have to stop doing if they really want the life that they say they want, and what it actually takes to succeed in this business because it is a business at the end of the day. And for those of you interested in learning more about David or the Price Group, you can go to his website, tpglife.com, or you can click any of the links down below in the description. I'll have all of David's information in a consolidated section just for you to You got it at the tip of your finger taps. All right, my dear friends. So if you'd like to be a guest on Policy and Profit, we're always looking for successful agents and agency owners doing at least 10K a month in commissions and have unique strategies to share. You can apply at the link down below in the description or the pinned comments. And one more time, if you want to stop getting people on your team that never sell anything and drain your time, we call these people time vampires, and you want to recruit the right people the first time on autopilot and fill your agency with rock stars and winners, go to writemorepolicies.com/playbook. Until next time, keep building that commission machine, my friend. David, you crushed it, dude. Great job, man.
Thanks, man. You made it easy. Appreciate it. Great job.
Yeah.